What's up guys, welcome back to a brand new video. Today I'm going to be talking about all the different ways that I do my vocals inside of FL Studio. I have four main techniques that I use. First one being my classic vocal processing, which we'll talk about first. Second being Formant shift processing. The third one being vocals to create MIDIs. And the fourth one being reversing vocals. Follow me on Instagram if you haven't already at GavinHadley_ if you want to stay a little bit more up to date with what is going on in my life. As you can see, I have a new background today. I just moved into a new place for the next 20 days before I go back to Wisconsin for Christmas. If you guys are interested in the type of loops that I'm going to be breaking down today, it is $20 to be added to my weekly melody list. Each week you'll be receiving 12 melodies around this style. So yeah, if you're interested, send me an email over to gavinhadleybeats@gmail.com. And without further ado, let's get into things. All right, so some of you might recognize this first melody that I'm going to be breaking down today. This is actually the melody For You and Me by Tommy Ice. The reason that I'm deciding to break it down is because I used a really interesting vocal processing technique in this one. I use this effect chain to this day. And it all stems from this very loop. First thing I'm going to do is play the loop and then just talk about the vocal process that I went through. As you can see, there is a pretty present vocal in the background. This is what the vocal sounds like on its own. This technique that I'm about to show you guys is really cool for me because back in the day, as you can see, I would just chop stuff up. I wouldn't really quantize in Ableton like I do now. So there would just be a bunch of things that were chopped up, and the vocals were among the most chopped up things. This is what the vocals sound like without any effects. It's rough, as you guys can see, but the effects that we added on it really just helped. It's so chopped up, and there's some chair squeaking here, like me rustling around in the chair. It's something. And this is in the exact order that I would add it onto it. I would put an EQ, making this shape. You guys, this is a legendary shape at this point. It's just like a mountain with like an elevated little area right here, just to give a little bit more texture to this sort of area that we're cutting off with it. You can still hear a lot of that chopped up sort of stuff going on. So to help with that, the next thing we have is Crystallizer Muffled Up Octave. I've been using this plugin forever. It gives you that up an octave feel. This plugin from Echo Boy, Arena Bathroom, classic. This is what it sounds like with it. It really gets most of that chopped up sound away. What this is doing basically is just serving as a reverb, but it also has like a cool sort of chorus effect. I'm going to show you guys a way that you can use stock plugins to do this as well in a second here, because we're using Crystallizer and Echo Boy, and then we just have a delay at the end. Say you don't have these plugins, I could just get rid of them here. First thing I'm going to do is just add a reverb. And then I think I want to add a little bit of just like a phaser or something. And then in context with everything else in the melody. Probably do a little bit more. Yeah, pretty much same thing. All stock plugins there. That is my first method. I use it to this day with slight iterations. When you have effect chains and stuff like this, it's really important to not just use the same effect chain because it's not going to sound perfect for everything. So I'll go in and I'll mess with some of the effects here and there every once in a while. But yeah, that is the first technique that I use in almost all of my loops to this day. If you guys just go ahead and listen to any of my weekly loops or loops in my loop kits, you will definitely hear a vocal with that sort of style within the loops. That is the first technique. Moving on to the second. As you can see, it takes a while to load up here. So this loop is one that sort of started this new era in vocals for me. I discovered on TikTok or like Instagram Shorts or something, a way to do formant shifting inside of FL Studio without using any plugins. So this is something that all of you guys can do with just stock plugins inside of FL Studio. This basically is a super useful tool if you're trying to create a little bit more of a female sounding vocal without just pitching it up an octave within this menu right here, because if you do this, you guys all know it gives that Alvin and the Chipmunks sound. So this is a way to get a more natural sound, and it's a way that I use in just about all of my melodies if I'm not using that first technique. This is what this loop sounds like. So that is the melody. As you can hear, there is that pitched up vocal in the background, and this is how I got it. I have this vocal actually down here. This is normally where I dump my stuff. This is what it sounds like without effects, just pitched up. And to get that effect, what I did, all right, so we're gonna use this section of the vocal. It's not perfect, but to show you guys how I got the effect, it's gonna work just right. So you're gonna left click on this, bring up this menu, do a right click. You guys can't see this, but you just press edit in audio editor, and then you have the Edison pulled up. You're gonna press Alt T on your keyboard, and then I will just show a picture of what this screen looks like on my screen. Basically, you're gonna wanna put your pitch course up to 12 semitones. Second is the fine knob. You're gonna wanna put it in the middle. Multiply, you can keep it right down the middle. E3 generic for your method. The Formant preservation, this is where you really do most of your adjustments. So this is what it would sound like normal. We have that classic sort of up an octave sound that we don't want. So to counteract this, we're going to change our factor course. We're going to move it over to the right a little bit. So we have our factor course all the way to the right a little bit. I'll put a screenshot of the exact settings that I'm using here. We put our fine knob over a little bit too to the right, and then we use our multiply knob and put that over to the right a little bit. And then with all that done and messing with the order knob a little bit, again, I'll have the screenshot so you guys can see everything that I'm talking about. This is what it sounds like. Much more natural sound. And now the effects that I put on it to further enhance it and get it sounding even more just reverbed. And because again, it's not going to sound extremely natural. It's going to sound a little robotic-y. So to help that, we use things like reverb and delays and whatnot. And then what I do normally is take that normal octave version that I'm pitching up and layer it with the pitched up version. It just gives more dynamic range in my opinion, and just helps fill up more space and more frequencies, make it sound a little bit more beefy. First thing, Fruity Delay 3. I really started using this plugin a lot in the past few months. Really good. I either use the default preset, which I think I'm using for this one, just giving it a lot of delay, and then I mix back the mix knob here. And we have a Valhalla, just blasting it. After the Valhalla, we have a Reverb 2, again, just doing even more stuff here, just drowning it out in reverb. Really subtle. Then we have an EQ, just sort of messing with some harsh frequencies. There was one here, so I brought it down, taking out some low end, and then lessening the top end a little bit. When I do this technique, I don't like to completely take out the top end like I would for the first technique. The reason being is because it drowns out a lot of that natural sounding high end that we have now. Basically, it would make it sound the same as if you were just to pitch it up normally. I have another EQ, taking out another harsh frequency, and we have a final EQ, taking out more harsh frequencies, and then ozonate elements to widen it. And without it, this is what it sounds like. And with it, you guys honestly probably can't hear it because it's YouTube, but it does make a little bit of a difference. And that is the second technique. It's one of my favorite techniques. I use it in just about every loop now as well. I like my vocals so much. Now we can move on to the third technique. That was a terrible 3. With this technique, we're taking those vocals that we created, running them through a software called Melodyne, and getting the MIDI elements for them, and then we're going to make a melody either to have play solo or alongside with that vocal. Normally I do alongside with the vocal, it fills up more space, sounds cooler to me, but this is what this melody sounds like. So yeah, that piano melody that you guys hear in the background is actually the same melody that I sung. You don't have to do anything crazy here, just make sure you're hitting your notes. That's really the only important part. And I've been using this technique before I record a chord progression. Before I even do like any other guitar elements, I'll go in and I'll just record a quick vocal just so I have it for a melody as like a fallback option or just another option to use later on. And I've been gravitating towards these melodies more actually. So this is what this vocal sounds like. It makes absolutely no sense mumbling. We render that into one audio file here. What we're gonna do is just route it somewhere, make sure you have auto-tune on it, and then we can go into like our master channel, put on Melodyne. After we have Melodyne, we're just gonna want to press transfer right here and then press play right there. and then stop it, and then go to settings once it's done and save as MIDI file, save it somewhere, pull it up inside of FL Studio, and then you have the MIDI. It's not going to be perfect, so that's when you're going to have to go in and edit it. What I like to do is first load up FL keys. Just gives you a really raw, pure sound of what the MIDI sounds like, and then you can go add a different sound later on. And this is what the edited MIDI looks like. It's not going to be perfect. You're just going to want to, what I do is layer it on top of each other so I can hear this vocal. And then I can also hear the FL keys on top of it. It's a super easy way of matching the melodies and getting everything in time. This is what it sounds like now when it's all in time. And after this, what I did is I actually kept that FL keys. I layered it with a different piano sound. This is what the other piano sound sounds like. I pitched this down with addictive keys, added the reverb and stuff on it. This is what these both sound like together now. Yeah, super easy way of transferring thoughts that you have inside your head into actual MIDI notes. Last thing is reversing vocals. Personally, I don't do this technique a lot, but I'm just going to demonstrate a way that you guys can do it. Really, it's honestly pretty simple. It's really a preference thing. I like my vocals to kind of just be how I sung them, but maybe you're not enjoying the way a vocal sounds. Just reverse it, honestly. So we have our main chord progression here. I'm just going to reverse this whole thing. And that's, I'm going to take this just really weird first part. The vocals are going to sound all screwed up, but that's where the power of reverb comes in. So now we have this. I'm just going to show you guys some effects that I'd put on it quickly. So we have an EQ. Reverb. And then something like Little Altar Boy, just pitch it up an octave here. And then maybe to give it a little bit more presence, we can use a plugin like Echo Boy, go over to vocal effects and then use like Dirt Echo. Yeah, so and if you guys were to take a little bit more time with this process, go in and find better chops. I didn't even listen to the second part. You can easily create a cool melody using that. Then you just have an entirely new slate to work with, and it can help you come up with new creative ideas just by reversing something. That is the tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you were able to learn something today. As always, feel free to follow me on Instagram at @GavinHeadley_. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Feel free to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching again. Bump the mic. Peace out.